this subject around burnout. Like you said, it's burnout is probably one of the biggest things that's actually happening a lot out there. And the thing is, we've got so much going on, especially as women, or even, you've got parents out there that are managing, bringing up a family, looking after the kids. They're trying to grow a business and do all these sorts of things. So you've got a lot of things that are demanding your attention and your time. And it's just a matter of deciding where you need to really put that attention as well. Because, having so much going on at once can cause us to feel overwhelmed and all that sort of stuff. And I guess as women, we are actually more prone to be what we call emotional exhaustion. Okay, so because we tend to kind of emotionalize a lot of our world, as women, we do have like a larger limbic system. Okay, so that's the part of us that manages our emotions. And because we do tend to internalize a lot of things outside of us, we can really start switching on that overthinking, the overwhelm, and then that starts turning into doubting what we're doing. So you can imagine over time that we do start to become emotionally exhausted. For men, however, they're able to depersonalize situations. So they don't tend to take things personally as much as women do. So they might be in the workplace and something might happen and they'll just go, okay, and get on with it. They'll move on. Whereas women, we are more inferential. So what that means is that we will give meaning where there is none. Okay, so, we might have, a guy might have a friend that will say, hey, let's catch up for drinks. And at the last minute, he might give him a call and say, look, mate, I can't make it. I've got to go somewhere, blah, blah, blah. He's all good. He'll go, that's fine. And he'll get on with it. Whereas women, if that was to happen to us at the last minute, we will get off that phone call and we will be sitting there going, okay, so why did she pull out at the last minute? She doesn't appreciate my time. Maybe she doesn't really, she doesn't really like me, all that sort of stuff. So we will start putting meaning where there is no meaning, So just, I think, recognizing that we are different from males in regards to the way we process things and catching ourselves out and not giving things meaning where there really is none. Okay, because we will start doing our head in, trying to figure stuff out that really doesn't need to be figured out. Okay, and that happens a lot. So, the thing is that we do live in a very male-dominated world in regards to business and all that sort of thing. So, we've become accustomed to try and to keep up with them in some way, to hustle, to grind, to be switched on all the time and just go, do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work for women, okay? All that does is burn us out, okay? We need our own way of doing things that are more in flow with the way women do things. So if you think of males, when you think of their moods, they're pretty much a straight line. Nothing much really changes throughout the day for them. But for women, because we have hormones, because we have our own internal cycle, our moods can be up and down throughout the day, depending on what's going on, depending on what we make it mean and all that sort of stuff. So we are very emotional. But that, when we understand and accept who we are and how we do operate very differently, we can start shaping our lives around that. And that it's a really, really powerful tool when we get ourselves back in alignment with our female way of doing things. Okay, and a really powerful tool for that, and to bring us internal harmony is getting back in alignment with our cycle. So most females don't think about that, right? They don't think of that about their cycle. And so you might have a lot of women that will say, well, you know, I don't have my cycle anymore. I'm, you know, menopausal and all that sort of stuff. But here's the thing. If you were born with a uterus, every cell in your body is coded female, whether you still have, you know, whether you're still going through menstruation and all that sort of stuff. Your body, your cell is still going through the motions of that 28-day cycle. And this is really good for our males that are watching as well, because then they might start to really understand us as females in that within that 28-day period, we've got different things going on within us internally that are affecting our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, the way we think about things. So if we're able to come back in alignment and get back in flow with the way we do things, we'll understand that we have ebbs and flows, right? Ups and downs. We can't expect ourselves to be consistent all the time. It's like expecting the ocean to be still all the time. It's not going to happen.
I love that analogy. Oh my God.
Yeah, right. We've got to allow that flow to happen. Right, there's going to be some times within that 28-day cycle where we need to pull in. Okay, we need to hibernate, and that's that. We put it into, when I'm talking to my clients, we put it into like a 28-day cycle, and we section that into the seasons, right? And the way we look at that is there's different seasons. So, for example, when we're in spring. Right, spring is like the first day after menstruation, like the first day after you finish bleeding, right? We go into spring, and that's our action phase, right? And that's when our estrogen rises, right? And you start to feel better. The aches and the pains are going after that emotional roller coaster that you've just been through. And now you're feeling renewed and refreshed, right? And these are the times that it's good to be out there, to be creative, to do all those sorts of stuff. So you're more positive focused, right? You can take action in that phase. So that's really good because then getting back in alignment with your cycle means that you're able to do the right things at the right time. Right? So when we have that 7 days of being in spring and then we go into summer, right? That is the time where our estrogen levels are at our highest. And that's the time we feel touchy-feely. That's the time we want to go and visit family. We want to be around people. That's the time that we want to be mixing with people, networking with people. That's when we have our meetings and our meetups and stuff like that, because you're at your best, right? So those are the times to be doing that. And then when we go into the next cycle, you're coming into autumn. So that's the lead up to, you know, that other, so the expressive phase, which is that heart phase when we're in summer. Then we come into autumn. That's just subconscious phase, right? And that's when you're starting to, your estrogen levels are coming down low. So that's when we start to get a little bit more cranky, like we might be a little bit more short and a little bit more irritable, right? So it's recognizing that in those different cycles, you are going to be different, right? And it's like when you're in a meeting and then all of a sudden you're snappy and you think, what's going on with me? I'm going crazy. It's no, you're not going crazy. Your body's just going through its cycle. And at this time in your cycle, you're going to be a little bit more irritable. Oh, okay. All right. So I can expect that. So what I might do is I might start pulling away a little bit and might not, you know, interact with certain people. Or if they trigger me, it's because I'm in this cycle, this part of my cycle. So I can expect that I'm going to be like that. Right. So, and then you move into to what we call winter, and that's where you're menstruating. So that's when you pull into yourself, and that's when you might start to be work on things like write, if you've got that book that you want to write, you might want to pull in there and you might want to start writing and doing all those sorts of things. So it's just recognizing that we are we can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster sometimes. So if we just work with our bodies in a way that it's designed, we can be doing the right things at the right time. And that's what's really, really important for females as well. Because we do have that tendency to be quite emotional, it's really important to understand ourselves and where we are at in our cycle to work with it as opposed to against it, which, when we're out there trying to hustle and we're trying to grind and we're trying to do all this, we're putting so much pressure on ourselves. It's a bit like being in second gear and driving along the motorway at 100 kilometers an hour. You're in second gear, you're going to burn out. That's like being in autumn. Don't be doing that sort of stuff when you're in autumn. You can, but it's going to cost you, So it's just about accepting that we are different in the, I guess, the normal world of being out there and being consistent and setting goals and all that sort of stuff. But for women, there's a right time and a better time to do that sort of stuff as well. And we've got to give ourselves a rest sometimes. We can't expect ourselves to be spot on.
It's really interesting, Yolande. So what I'm really hearing, what you're saying is it's all about being aware. It's being aware of your own body, your own needs, your emotional needs as well. Being aware of your cycle. Life doesn't always work with you. Being a mum of a child with special needs, for example, you don't get the option a lot of the time to rest. So in those moments, is there something that you would say that you would recommend, or for those people that just may not have the options to really have those quiet moments to really understand what's going on and to collect?
So I guess if you can recognize what's triggering like that, look, first of all, you need to know why you're doing what you're doing, right? You need to get really clear on that. Be realistic about what you can do, what you can control, and what you can't, right? You can only do so much, okay? Because if we're trying to accomplish these goals because someone else out there is doing it and they've done it and they've got this, that's their journey, that's their road. Know yours. Know what you can do in your time in the way that works for you. Because if you are pushing yourself and you're trying to accomplish this goal, but it's costing you your health, your emotional state is not at its best. When you are with people, you are not going to be as effective. So you need to just slow it down if you need to. Like mentally, we are our worst enemy when it comes to having these unrealistic expectations. So we need to take those down and just focus on what we can do and actually be happy with that, right? Be happy with what you can do because you're doing the best that you can in that moment. And it's about the quality of who you are in any given moment that will be much more effective than being someone who's burnt out but showing up all the time. Whereas you could have someone that's like they're in flow, they're showing up being the best version of themselves because they've given themselves the rest. They're honoring their body. They're doing it in their time. And that's more effective. It's not so much more. It's the quality of you and honoring who you are and doing life your way. And that matters more. It's not a race. We don't work well being pressured and trying to be consistent all the time, ladies. We need to just take that breath and go, you know what, I've got to do it my way. And if it's a little bit slow and if it doesn't look like out there, that's fine. It's not meant to. It's meant to look like yours and the way you do it.
Well, there you go. I can't say that any better than what Yolande has just said. And a perfect time to bring this interview to a close today. Yolande and